Well, so thanks so much for joining us on Leadership Log today, which is a podcast focused on various topics of interest. So today's topic is the Product Support Manager Forum, or PSM, which is scheduled to take place June the 27th through 29th at the Kenney Hall Auditorium, located at the Air Force Institute of Technology. So the theme of this year's event is Sustaining the Future. And with that, Mr. Conley, if you don't mind, just kick us off by, introducing yourself and talking to us a bit about the purpose of the forum.
Yeah, good morning, Brian. Thanks for hosting us today. So I'm Lansen Conley. I'm the Director of Logistics here for Lifecycle Management Center. And we've been hosting these annual Product Support Manager forums here at Wright-Patt. And this just gives us an opportunity to bring in all our product support managers who are really our logistics leaders in the program offices around the Lifecycle Management Center throughout the country, and this gives them time to come together, to network, and also to really hear from some very senior leaders in the Air Force in terms of what those senior leaders have in terms of perspectives on lifecycle logistics and logistics in general.
Awesome. So what's new this year?
Well, so we are really excited that the Secretary of the Air Force, Mr. Frank Kendall, is going to come and speak in person. And what a great opportunity. I mean, logistics is probably getting more focus than it has in a number of years. And so to hear Secretary Kendall's perspective on logistics, product support, I think will be invaluable for every one of our product support managers that's going to attend. Also, hopefully he will give us some insight on his 7 operational imperatives, which we've heard a lot about. We have a lot of people that are pretty deeply involved in that. And so I think as he talks about that, that'll really solidify for a product support manager the importance of that and the future direction for the Air Force.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So on to our next panelist. Dr. Bayer, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well, and just talk a little bit about what you hope that attendees will gain from attending this event.
Certainly. Thank you, Brian. Well, good morning to everybody. I am Dr. Mike Bayer. I'm the Logistics and Technology Department Chair at the Defense Acquisition University right here in Kettering, Ohio. I've had the unique pleasure of emceeing this event. I believe it's been all 5 years since it's been in existence, so it's been a great run for me. If I had a desire, my desire would be the attendees would truly seize this opportunity. We often hear throughout the classrooms or even amongst ourselves, people saying, what were they thinking or what are they thinking? When they speak about what drives our leaders when they're crafting policy and vision and strategy. I would argue this is a unique opportunity to not only capture some of those most senior leadership's perspectives, but if they truly engage, they can actually get some of their own questions answered, along with pass along some of their concerns from our level, if you will. So it's a truly unique opportunity, and I would just encourage everybody to take advantage of these 3 days as they occur, because it doesn't happen very frequently, and they've got the ear of some of our most senior Air Force leaders.
So, Ms. Carney, can you introduce yourself and explain a bit about your role on the logistics team, and talk how others like yourself with your background, what they can expect to learn during the upcoming PSM forum?
Okay, sounds good. Well, hello, I'm Lisa Carney. I'm the Logistics Organizational Senior Functional for the Fighters and Advanced Aircraft Directorate. In this role, I work with our Program Executive Officer, Brigadier General White, and I'm his lead logistics functional, and we support six divisions in the PEO. We have the A-10, the F-15, the F-16, the F-22, Advanced Aircraft and Special Programs Division. I work with our PSMs to assist them in their product support role within their divisions from a technical and personnel standpoint. And as a former B2 PSM, I can use my past experiences and contacts to help them succeed. This year's forum sounds really exciting. Everybody's really psyched that Secretary Kendall's going to be here and give his views on how the product support manager's roles and the operational imperatives and where we fit into that. And then in addition, we're going to hear from an executive director from the Defense Logistics Agency, Mr. Kenney, and he's going to speak on their efforts to incorporate some fixes and changes on the risk the supply chain risk management team are finding when they do their exposure analysis and illumination work. And then, of course, the panels are always pretty good, always a crowd favorite. They're conducted with the utmost professionalism and the highest caliber of people. And having the vice directors from each of the 3 air logistics complexes on the panel answering questions from the audience and discussing real-time issues is definitely going to be a highlight of the forum. Now, for the second question, all logisticians are critical to the 3 focuses of this year's forum. A new reality. Air superiority is no longer a given. China has the most competitive capabilities we've ever been up against, and operating in a contested environment will become the status quo. We must be able to rely on each logistician to conduct their job with the utmost excellence, and having a strategic understanding of the Air Force's operational imperatives and overall goals from Secretary Kendall allows for all of our logisticians to make the connection personal. How do each of us and what part do we play in making these goals happen in our new reality? The second focus area is war readiness. The training and equipping of the frontline warfighter is absolutely the job of all level of logisticians. The warfighter does not win without a team of logisticians behind them. Every screwdriver, every tire, every piece of support equipment, every spare LRU, and even the shipping of those items is accessible to the warfighter because there's a logistician making it happen. And then lastly, accelerating transformation. Each PSM logistician has a responsibility to the job, to the warfighter, and to themselves to stay current on cutting-edge technology and significant program improvements. This allows them to conduct their jobs more efficiently and with the most up-to-date methods. Hearing the latest from the Supply Chain Risk Management Team, the Strategic Alternate Sourcing Program Office, SASPO, which is the command's experts on DMSM issues, and the Digital Transformation Office are just a few capabilities increasing our program successes.
So each day of the forum has a specific focus, and the first day being focus is a new reality. Or I'm sorry, the first day of the forum is entitled A New Reality with a focus on Air Force leadership's strategic vision. So why is it important for PSMs to focus on strategic vision of Air Force leadership?
So let me take that one, Brian. So really, I think it's important that our product support managers understand a perspective about the current environment that we're operating in. Things have shifted dramatically here over the last number of years. And so understanding the broad strategic implications of that shift to this environment that we're in today really need to shape what our product support managers do on a daily basis and what they're thinking about in the long term in terms of how their weapon systems are actually going to be used by the folks out in the field.
So I have another question, and so what exactly is a product support manager?
So I'll answer first, and then I'll let the others jump in. So product support manager is in our program offices that manage a single weapon system. The product support manager is the lead logistician in there that worries about things like product support. How do we get parts? What kind of design interfaces do we have? Do we have a design that's maintainable? Facilities where we can do the maintenance? How fast can we fix things and get them back into commission? And so they are seasoned individuals that have been working in program office environments for a long time that really give advice to the program manager, who between the two of them kind of have overall responsibility to make sure that we have affordable and sustainable weapon systems.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that background. So going back to the forum, the second day is entitled War Readiness. And why is it important to consider logistics planning as we prepare for future battle?
So, logistics always has been and will continue to be the key to winning any war that we might have in the future. And And when we think of the Pacific Theater, which is kind of where the current focus is, there is no theater, I think, that brings that more into focus when you look at the long lines of supply that we have to encounter out there. And then the other part of this is that there may be what we call contested logistics or logistics under attack, where no longer can we take supplies, can we take material into the theater without being under some type of attack, whether it's what we would call a kinetic attack from, bombs or bullets or missiles, or a cyber attack where our log IT systems come under, cyber attack that would disrupt the way we do our command and control from a logistics perspective.
So would you say so the focus of logisticians is it as simple as, getting a product from point A to point B?
If only it were that simple. That's one aspect of it, but you've got to get the product, right? Where do you got to do all the things that are involved in making the product or fixing the product that you're then going to get from point A to point B. Once you get it to point B, you got to get it to the folks that need it. And do they have all the equipment they need and the tools they need to make the repair or to use the item that you've spent all that time and effort to get them there? So I'll turn it over to Mike or Lisa if they have more they want to add on that.
I'll just add very quickly. I think you touched a little bit on it, sir, that, while most people think of logistics as getting the right part to the right place at the right time, I think it begins back at the design piece of it. Are we designing for supportability? And I think that's the piece that the PSM brings to the table. I call them the logistics conscience of the PM, that while they're trying to field quickly, somebody's got to be thinking about what happens after it's in the field, and you have to think about that during the design of whatever the weapon system would be. So I think without that, I was talking to an engineer just last week, and it's kind of funny. He said it to me. He said, if we build a system that doesn't break, you don't have to fix it. That says it all right there. So that engineer gets it. And that's what we, as I think PSM, strive to do, is begin at that design piece, and then the rest of the other elements come into play after that. But after that, you're kind of locked into your strategy once the system fills. Ms. Carney, anything that you would add?
Just to jump on, a lot of what we do is we're fielding weapon systems for our young airmen to manage and support and take care of on a flight line. So the tools, the training, the techniques, like Mike said, reliability. If a part doesn't break, you don't have to fix it. With our 5th gen fighters, we have stealth capability. So anytime you open a panel or have to go into an area to fix a part, you have to restore that low observable capability. So really thinking about the maintainer on the flight lines, thinking about the pilot, the weapons loaders, how are you going to employ this weapon system when it finally gets to the ramp is just as important as the performance of the weapon system. So our logisticians have to be vocal, and they have to get in there up front and early to make sure we field sustainable, supportable weapon systems.
So the last day of the forum is focused on accelerating transformation. So why must we accelerate transformation, and how does logistics fit in each of these larger Air Force priorities?
Well, so, when we think about the pacing threats out there, those countries are really accelerating their change and the fielding of their capabilities at a very, very rapid rate. And it's been one that's been unique in we haven't seen another nation fielding systems as rapidly as we've seen with China. And so in order for us to stay ahead, right, we have to really transform the way we do business, transform the way that we think, because if we don't, we will soon fall behind our competition. And so in that, there's a lot of transformation we have to make in terms of one area is to go into the digital realm, what we would call an integrated digital model-based environment, where instead of using paper products, instead of using, a computer-aided design. We work in a model-based environment where everything is done on a computer inside a model. We think that'll offer us the opportunity to really speed up the pace of our acquisition and help perfect the product support that we can give to that weapon system. Back to what Dr. Bear said, we can get logisticians in on the front end of the design to say, hey, you know, I went into the computer and I looked, and that design just doesn't seem like it's going to work from when I have to pull or replace a part because there's something else in the way, or I got to take half the jet apart. So I think those are really important things we need to do.
So how can logistics leaders lead in this environment? Because I think about, so logistics is a part of a team. There's other experts on the team. How do logistics officers or specialists go about driving change and leading on these teams that they're on?
Well, I think from my perspective, they need to be very involved in this digital transformation, and they need to be kind of just pressing into it and saying, hey, this isn't just for engineers, this is for logisticians, because engineers and logisticians should be very tightly tied, like Mike was saying. And leading from the perspective of advocating for change, advocating for a different way of doing business, and really taking a leadership role to say, we owe it to the folks that are going to use our weapon systems to give them the best possible systems, the best reliability, the best maintainability, and the best capability that we can, because ultimately, people are going to get in these weapon systems and employ them in a combat environment. And we want to make sure when they do that, that the weapon system works as it's advertised, and we can bring our folks back home safely after accomplishing the mission.
So just transitioning. So Dr. Bayer, you're a logistics expert. Can you explain how the forum helps PSMs and other logistics staff fit into the overall Air Force strategic objectives?
Well, thanks, Brian. Let's first of all, let's clear. I'm not sure I quite qualify as an expert. You might be using that term rather loosely, but I have been around the career field for a number of years, and I'll just offer that if I have any expertise, it comes from continuous engagement with the current DoD's PSMs that are currently sitting in and staying involved in events like this. Simply put, strategic objectives. They're often difficult to fully comprehend, especially when we see them in writing. And by the time we hear the spoken word from our senior leaders, that message is passed through many levels, and each level adding or detracting from the change and changing the meaning a little bit, either toward or against the original intent, every time it makes its way through a leadership level. So at this forum, it's the PSM's forum, and each and every speaker, each and every panel, each and every event focuses on how PSMs and logistics actually fit into the big Air Force's strategic objectives and intent. So I would argue if you walk out of the forum after 3 days of discussion and you still find where you fit in the strategic objective unclear, it's probably because you didn't ask, because you have an opportunity. So if I had one message to emphasize to everybody that attends, would be to engage the speakers and network with your peers and colleagues, because it doesn't come around every day. And Mr. Conley, I think, recognized this a while back, that that logisticians needed a forum. And so to his credit, kind of made it happen, and it's been successful to have this forum for logisticians, only logisticians, speak in logistics, because it was sorely needed. So let's say PSM, senior logistician, this is your forum. Exploit the opportunity, and don't squander that chance to speak to those leaders that can really, they can flat out tell you where they believe you fit in the big Air Force's objectives. So ask the question. That'd be my greatest desire for the outcome as well.
So Ms. Carney, where do you see the biggest value of a forum such as this?
Well, just ditto everything what Dr. Baer just said, but I think there's just a lot of value gained when your community gets together, and you're getting together for 3 days at Kenney Hall, hopefully away from your daily distractions, so you can focus on your role in our nation's defense and hear about it directly from our Air Force senior leaders. So the networking opportunity, the insight into our senior leaders and how they see our role. It's just a great way to re-blue and reinvigorate our logistics force.
So, so Mr. Conley, what has been your biggest takeaway from PSM forums in the past?
So I think, for me, we are seeing this renewed focus on logistics that we haven't really had in the last, 15, 20 years, because logistics has always just kind of been assumed to be something that's going to happen in the background. I think now our leadership recognizes that logistics is in the foreground and the success of the mission really depends on logistics. So I've just seen over the last number of years that we've had this forum, not only from the level of speakers that we've had, but from the topics that we've been talking about, that this is really critical to understanding where we're going and how we're going to be successful is with our logisticians. So I think it really does bolster that with our logisticians in the program offices to let them know just how important the role is that they have.
So something that might stick out on the agenda is a session on hiring. How important is it to develop new PSMs and logistician talent for the center right now?
Is that for me, Brian?
Yes, ma'am, or anyone can take it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give it a go. So, of course, it's extremely important to recruit, retain, and develop our talented logisticians, because the people make the mission happen. And as you know, when we were coming out of COVID, we had a lot of challenges with hiring, and we have some catching up to do. So Lieutenant General Morris, he's our center commander at Air Force Lifecycle Management Center. He has an initiative for the Mach 3 initiative, where we're tasked with hiring 244 logisticians this fiscal year. So to make this happen, it's going to be critical for the PSMs and the logistics supervisors to understand the hiring process and understand what it takes to bring on new talent. And that's not easy. Our hiring process is not easy. So we do have some long lead items in the process that are kind of out of our control, but we have a large upfront part that is within our control. So I would just encourage our PSMs and our supervisors to work with our home office and make sure that we understand the process. We're getting them the products they need as soon as possible, so we can hire the best people quickly and bring them on board and start using all that talent. And of course, the other OSFs and the other directorates, we're always here to help with the process as well.
Awesome. So I know the center, at least for logistics, just had a hiring fair back in March. So are you all still hiring folks?
Yes, we are. We have a goal that we're working for, and so this will continue through the end of this fiscal year. So we are making great progress. We're looking at it bifunctional, so the logistics, the engineers, program managers, everybody has a goal, and we're all working hard. We have a series of hiring events we talked about at all of our different lifecycle management center locations. They've been well attended, and we are getting great crowds of folks out who are interested in joining the workforce.
Dr. Bear, you were about to say something?
I was just going to mention, I was going to pile on a little bit to what Ms. Carney was talking about, the hiring, but on the development piece, that once you get all these logisticians on board, it's a different age now where you can't just come in and know logistics and say I'm a logistician. To get and be able to advocate and articulate your positions to our leaders, and it goes back to what Mr. Conley was saying about how do you be a leader. You have to be able to speak all these different languages. You have to understand contracting and contracting language and engineering language and cost estimating language. And if you can't speak that at the table, you're probably not being listened to. And so you really struggle, I think, to lead. So I think there's a big piece that says, as we're developing the logistician of today and tomorrow, they have to be multifunctional, multilingual as they grow through their career.
I know towards the end of the forum, there'll be a networking and social event. Mr. Conley, can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, we're gonna go downtown to what's called Flyboy Deli down there, and we just invite all the attendees to sign up and go down there. It's an opportunity just to join in an informal setting and network and discuss all the good things that folks are doing and share a few of the maybe challenges they have and how they're gonna get them all fixed before the end of the forum. So I think it's going to be a great setting. And really looking forward to meeting all the folks down there. I think it'll be a nice wrap up for that particular day that we do this. So it's not that far. You can just get down there really easy, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody down there.
Awesome. So for folks who are interested in attending the forum, how do they register? Where do they go to register?
So we've been sending out a series of informational messages that come from either myself or our our project leads on this, which is Jennifer Hart or Kristen Kenney. So if they contact either Jennifer or Kristen, they can get them the sign up link and get them hooked up so they can come.
So another question for you all. So what's next for the logistician career field? And anyone can take this.
I'll jump for just a moment. I think they touched on a little bit about digital, and I'll speak it from what we're doing from a university standpoint. That the National Defense Authorization Act had quite a bit of language on digital engineering, but in the periphery that we can't forget is that there's a digital product support aspect as well. And I think Mr. Conley spoke about, changing and how we transform and the speed at which we do it. That normally always transitioned into risk. It represents risk when we're trying to move quickly and transform quickly. And the digital aspect of it allows us to mitigate some of that risk. To where I think that's the one of what's next in our curriculum, and most likely what they're focusing on from the digital visions, the digital product support visions across the Air Force. And I'll acquiesce any other time to the other two of the panelists.
Mike, I think you're right. We were talking about it earlier about knowing what the cutting edge technology is and, what's out there to help us be more successful. The DART team, RSO, the Rapid Sustainment Office, the data analytics, in Fighters and Advanced Aircraft, one of our divisions, the Advanced Aircraft Division, is actually developing new weapon system using all digital, and it's all being modeled in attempt to go faster. And we have those conversations all the time about how do we get people in there, rotate them in and let them see how we're doing this, because it's cutting edge, and it's really amazing what they can do in such a short period of time, sharing the models and the data with the contractors and the engineers and the loggies, and they can model out all sorts of product support what ifs. This panel, this lever, using virtual reality with maintainers, can you reach this panel with this tool? So they're going through all of that in a digital environment, and it's quite impressive. Now, the downside to this is, that's a very highly classified program. So it's difficult to get people in and understand it because it's highly classified. So we're trying to figure out ways within WA to maybe have people go over for a year, and then when they go back out into the other programs, they kind of have this experience and background in how to do modeling. Because I think sometimes it's hard to, what is the first step? You go tell your loggies, go be digital. And they're like, well, I have this Excel spreadsheet, So I think just having the hands-on experience as programs, we do new programs, it's gonna be that foundation. So as we go into the 6th gen platforms and we have the modeling and we see the success of it and the benefit of it, and we see the success of it and the benefit of it in the sustainment phase, I think that's going to give it all the more, horsepower to get it out to other programs. So I've been fortunate. I have seen it in action. Mr. Conley has seen it. The digital is definitely, I think it'll help us go fast.
Well, my last question is there anything you want to add, or is there anything that I perhaps left out?
I'll make one shameless plug. As we're talking about digital, currently, Ms. Carney's talking about a lot of digital opportunity, but it's under the cloak of classification. We do have a course that we went out. It's Log 50590. It's called Digital Product Support. It's currently filled, and it's the unclassified version of what's going on across the total product support elements in a digital environment. And there's going to also be a credential on that as well for 016. Mr. Sean Harrison will be speaking at the conference, as a matter of fact, on day one, and I'm sure he'll be bringing that up as well.
Yeah, Brian, I just want to say thanks for hosting us today. I think this is going to be a great event, and I encourage everybody that's watching this podcast to sign up and come, because you will not be sorry if you do. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Leadership Log today. I really appreciate it. And certainly we're looking forward to your forum, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.